It's a rainy day. Happy Friday, everybody. Almost the weekend. Just wanted to check in at the week and go over a few things so that we are all on the same page. Let's get right into it. First of all, looking back at the first week, a lot of good work was done. I'm happy that people are asking questions and they're submitting assignments and they're resubmitting assignments and really working on the feedback I gave you. That's kind of key to this process, and especially at the beginning, once you learn my expectations, it gets a lot easier. A good example of that is citations, which we're going to talk about right now. I know at first it seems like a big deal to cite everything, but once you get in the hang of it, it moves pretty quickly. If you still don't know how to cite things, really, this is your main resource, okay? And you should really use it at all times, and you can get there fairly easily. I'll pull it up here just so you see it. There it is. Fairly easy to find. You go down to web resources again, and it gives you all these different models. Sorry, it's loud out here sometimes. And if you don't know, like if you're using some form of online media that you don't recognize, you can use this blank form for online multimedia, and that will suffice. Okay? Great. Other common problems this week really were just about finding certain assignments. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about discussions for a second. But looking forwards, one thing you're going to notice is the calendar, the pace will increase quite a bit. I gave this first week I gave you a lot of time just to work on a couple of assignments so you could get used to working on it, so you could rework them a lot. The pace is going to quicken, so you got to kind of go with it. And one of the main things that we're going to get into is, so far you've done 2 writing assignments, which are great. The summary and the more intense opinion paragraph, and you'll be doing a lot of writing like that. But one of the skills you're going to be working on as a historian as well is historical empathy. So that means putting yourself in the shoes of somebody else who lives in a different time period than you. And in order to do that, much like an actor might research their character and research the times that they're talking about, you can be a little bit more creative here. And so what I would suggest you do, I'll just show you a couple of the assignments I'm talking about here. So coming up right now, the Vimy Ridge letter is definitely one of them, where you're going to be writing a letter from the battleground. And so the expectation, if you look into success criteria, is going to be a mixture of both your writing, your ability to communicate real information about it without it sounding like you're writing an essay, but more like you're taking on a persona. In order for you to take on a persona, you need to specify a few things. So when taking on the persona, I would say you figure out, like, play a real character. Play somebody who's a certain age. Play someone who's from a certain part of Canada. Play someone who has a leg wound. Play someone who is missing their kids a lot. Play someone who is in the most romantic and amazing relationship of their entire life and is away from their beloved. All of those things will make your letter seem more original. So that's a Dropbox one. And that's your, by the way, is your culminating activity. So it's a big one. You should really spend a lot of time on that. In the discussion areas, you also have one of that. So everyone knows the discussion area exists. I know that because you posted there. Unit 1, there's 2 different discussions. One is a pretty straightforward question where you get to, and it's only a 2 marker, by the way, where you get to just comment on 2 different scenarios. But the conscription role play is, again, a form of role play where you're taking on the persona of a person and commenting on conscription as that person. So again, how do you make that more authentic? Well, first of all, you need the historical accuracy and the information and what the person's most likely to talk about. But you can put on an accent when you write it down. You can try to use expressions from the time period. You can add personal and slang-like terms that you would not use in a formal piece of writing. Okay, so those are kind of my expectations, and they're kind of fun. Check out the success criteria under the rubrics, and you should do great. Also, for those discussion questions, you will always have a chance to comment on other people. When commenting on them, your goal is to both, discuss what works and what you think they've done really successfully, and then either raise an interesting question or make an argument about something. So, I mean, there's two different scenarios. So let's take a look at the two in front of us. The conscription role play, you can, let's say somebody takes the role of a farmer from Western Canada, and you think they totally got it wrong because a farmer wouldn't think like that. I think what you want to do always in your critique is be a little bit positive when you're talking up to them and highlight some things that you did well. And then if you're going to question somebody about the way they did something, you might say, I'm not so sure that's, use language that's gentle, but, you can bring up that you disagree with them and that you might have approached it a different way. As long as it's in positive terms and it's aiming in the end to be helpful and not hurtful. That is the key in these discussion areas. Okay? Sorry, we're getting into 6 minutes here. Late. A lot of people ask me about late. Okay, so I give you a due date. You should give me you should aim for the due date. The due dates help you. If you don't get it in by the due dates, I don't automatically take off marks. The goal of this and the philosophy that I've adopted for this course is that you are going to do your best to resubmit and get better at things. So I will post in the newsfeed when exactly the different units will close. And usually that will be roughly a week to a week and a half after the official due date. So you have quite a bit of time to resubmit a few things. I would strongly discourage you from using that extra time to procrastinate and then just hand things in right before everything closes, because then you don't get any feedback, and that's when we run into problems. Okay, so that's what lates are. There's no real late. I'm not going to be like minus 10% for late, but if you don't get it in by a certain date, you just will get the 0 on it. And again, that will usually be a week to a week and a half after the due date is posted, and I will post that in the newsfeed. Okay. And lastly, before you start your weekend, phone numbers. I don't have everybody's. I'd like to talk to everyone in person. Some parents might want to talk to me about concerns they have. I want to make sure I get to every single person. Please send me the email with your phone number. Okay. Weekends. That's number 6. I didn't really put it down. Weekends are sacred. You need some time away from the computer. I would at least take one full day off. I know I'm going to take one full day off. If you need something specifically throughout the weekend, though, usually I will at least check my email every day, unless I tell you otherwise, and I'll be there to support you. Okay? So everyone, have a great weekend. Enjoy the summer, even if you're doing this course plus one other. A lot of you guys are working really hard. And we'll get back to it on Monday with some fresh energy. Take care.